You don't need me to believe you, you need them to believe you. Your priest, your postman, your teacher, the world at large. They're not wired like me and you, okay? They don't spend their lives trying to get a look at what's behind the curtain. They like the curtain. This would open the curtain and open the curtain behind that curtain, okay? So the minute someone with an ounce of authority calls bullshit, everyone will nod their heads and say, see? Ha! I knew it! It was bullshit. That is, if you even get their attention at all.
In this video that was sent to me, you are going to see and hear that mainstream science is now bragging about every single thing that I've been talking about on this channel since its inception. I've spoke about radio frequency and ELF monitoring breathing patterns, pulse rate, walking gait, household and local sounds, subvocal speech, and a myriad of other factors. Over the years, I've had hundreds of disinformation shills comment that none of this is possible, praying that viewers would read the comments, agree, and move on back to Mr. Beast videos. In this video, you will see otherwise. But before we get there, do not be fooled. All these academics keep spouting the same things about the same technology over and over, sometimes over a 30 or 40 year period of time, stating that we just did this just now, when it has been completely in use for decades and decades before that. You have to remember that. It's imperative, and I will prove it. So let's listen to what they're talking about.
So I'm going to talk about something we call ambient intelligence.
I have to stop right away. They call it ambient intelligence. Now, that's very strange considering I always said that this rides on ambient sound, and they're calling it ambient intelligence.
If radio signals with machine learning, particularly neural networks.
Now, they're talking about radio signals and machine learning. We have already proven that AI is tightly entwined within this surveillance system.
So if you think about radio signals, we all live in a sea of radio signals. They are actually very powerful. Not only they carry messages and Wi-Fi packets and all that stuff, but actually radio signals traverse walls and occlusions.
They traverse walls, they see through, because Wi-Fi cell signals are radar. Wi-Fi is radar. 2.4 gigahertz is radar.
And they bounce off our skin. And when they bounce off our bodies, they get modulated.
They get modulated. Before, that wasn't possible. That didn't do anything. Now, radio frequencies modulate off the skin.
By everything we do. By our steps.
By our steps.
By our breathing. By
our steps and our breathing. Now, remember, I showed you with the SWAT rat that we can pick AI, just like a giant Alexa, monitoring everything. The AI is counting everything, and I will prove it to you here. What I did was I set up a microphone in the hallway. Then I began to do things. Turn on the sink, turn on the shower. I walked up and down the hall, accentuating my footsteps. It responds. I'm going to take 10 steps here. Let's listen to it. 10 steps. A voice is going to come in here that sounds like a broken speak and spell. And it's going to say 10 steps. Let's listen to it. 10 steps. But it gets better. It starts talking about my left foot. I do another trip down the hallway. Okay? And then the voice comes in and says left foot, flat-footed. Check it out.
Left foot, flat-footed.
Left foot, flat-footed.
Left foot.
Left foot.
Left foot. Left foot.
Flat-footed.
Flat-footed.
But not only that, a 0.5 hertz signal can monitor breathing in a room or facility anywhere and can tell you how many life forms are around. And it's very easy to do. I can show you right here. That is a 0.5 hertz signal, and all of this has been possible for decades. None of this is new, and they always try to sell this as medical stuff, revolutionary stuff, when it's really for surveillance. It is always for surveillance and pre-crime policing. They always sold bone conduction and voice-to-skull weapons as help for the deaf. Do you know any deaf people that are using this stuff now? Absolutely not. They're using old-school hearing aids because this stuff goes dark and it is weaponized. They are lying to you. It's imperative that you realize that before you listen to any more of this jive from this MIT huckster. So let's keep going here.
By our steps, by our breathing, but by the pulsing of our blood. So even more than that, in fact, they change when we go to sleep, when we enter REM, which is the stage in which we dream.
Okay, so she's talking to us like we're stupid to begin with, but they're saying right there that they can monitor brain waves via RF. Now, I have videos called Project MK Sleep, which already proves this and proves that this is in action, working. So they pretend like this is new. It is old, and they are talking about it now.
And not only this, they actually change according to our diseases and our health and activities.
So they can scan and tell whether you have disease or not. We've known this already anyway. However, in 1984, a woman was hit with voice of God weapons, which tried to convince her to go get a brain scan. When she did, it turned out that she actually had a brain tumor. So they were able to do both these things, hit the woman with the voice of God weapons and tell her that she had a disease in 1984. And people think it's hocus pocus or paranormal.
This is a story of a woman who heard voices in her head, and it led to curing her own brain tumor. Dr. Ikechukwu Azunia reports in the British Medical Journal of a woman referred to as simply AB. She was a full-time homemaker who in 1984 heard a voice in her head saying, "Please don't be afraid. I know it must be shocking for you to hear me speaking to you like this, but this is the easiest way I could think of. My friend and I used to work at the Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children, and we would like to help you."
So this voice is totally normal. It's talking about how they used to work at a hospital. You would think someone would be thinking rationally when the woman told this story, but they don't.
Convinced she was losing her mind, she consulted her family doctor, who referred her to Dr. Azunia, a consulting psychiatrist at the Lambeth Healthcare Trust. The voices told her to go in and ask to have a brain scan, says Dr. Azunia. After an examination which showed no medical explanation for what AB had heard, he diagnosed her with a functional hallucinatory psychosis.
He diagnosed her with a functional hallucinatory psychosis. So no matter what, this woman has this phony ass diagnosis on her record for the rest of her life. On top of that, she was hit with exactly what this MIT person is talking about, coupled with voice of God weapons, and they wanted to see if they could manipulate her to go get a brain scan, which she did. And it ended up costing her everything, because in the end, these type of psychological diagnosis will affect your life. If something happens to you, they go, oh, they had bipolar, like Elisa Lam. When everybody heard she was bipolar, they just said, oh, well, she was crazy. So something crazy happened to her. But anyway, this gets even nuttier.
AB was otherwise a completely healthy person, and despite having no indications of discomfort, persisted in following the advice of the voice and requested a brain scan. Initially, doctors were reluctant as they saw no evidence to do so, or of a tumor for that matter, but due to AB's distress, they went ahead with it, and to their alarm, discovered a tumor.
They found a tumor, so all of it was correct. Now, you would think that the doctor would say, there is something going on here. There is a technology that we do not know about, or we are not aware of, and people are using it to mess with people, manipulate people, and or possibly help people. But there is something that we don't know that they are using, right? Well, that's not what happens.
AB made a full recovery. The voice's last words to her, "We are pleased to have helped you. Goodbye."
Now, she was not hallucinating that. If you believe that, you are stupid. So let's move on.
One possible explanation Dr. Azunia offered for all of this was what he termed the X-Files, which was written into his paper. He suggested the case was an example of telepathic communication from well-meaning people who had cyclically learned of the tumor and sent warning.
This doctor, a man of science, didn't say something is going on here. This could be a technology that we don't know about that they are using. He went in the X-Files direction and said that people learned how to be psychic and learned of the tumor through psychic ability, and that's how it happened. A man of science said this. Think about that. A doctor. Probably because he didn't want to lose his funding, his license, or have his life ruined. But he still had the balls to put that garbage out there instead of just saying, something's up here. What a coward. What a coward. In 1984, they were using this technology, and it always goes down as paranormal and hocus pocus, and it's garbage. They are using this stuff. They have been using this stuff for decades. Now, let's go back to the MIT huckster and keep going.
Understand how they are moving, their respiration, their vital signs. Maybe even diagnose diseases before doctors can diagnose them.
Maybe even diagnose diseases before doctors can diagnose them, like the case in 1984.
Now, this sounds like science fiction, but
It doesn't sound like science fiction. They've been doing this for decades, and only people who are stuck in Hollywood and watching movies and watching Mr. Beast and just being a dumbass would not know that they have been doing this stuff for decades and decades and decades. But she is trying to sell it like it's new, and it is not new.
actually, this is exactly what I'm going to show you that we did. And
They didn't do this. This is old. They're talking about tracking a person via radio wave.
we put our wireless device not in the same office, but in the adjacent office behind the wall. So you see a big arrow says the wireless device behind this wall. And this red dot here is where the device thinks this person is now standing.
Yeah, that's hilarious because they were advertising the Zigbee system like well over a decade ago that could do the exact same thing. I'll show you here. Here is the Zigbee tracking system from a long, long time ago in 480 resolution, right? And it's doing the exact same thing that she's talking about. And this was old technology when they showed it back then. These people are trying to get you to believe that it's all on the horizon when it has already been implemented and it is in use. They keep doing this with everything over and over and over, and you have to pay attention to that. And we know why.
From behind the wall, we actually detect how he's moving, where he is at any point in time.
This is old technology. And she's saying, we're just now doing this. No, they are putting it all together as one weapon, and they are bragging about it. That is what they are doing. And they're not telling you that all of this has been implemented for years. The proof is in this video. And those samples from earlier can be done anywhere. My house is not special. I've done this at numerous places over the years. And you can pick this up, commenting on what is happening, and it is AI doing it.
Without any sensor on his body. In fact, for all practical reasons, he might be oblivious that we are monitoring him from the adjacent office.
Right. She keeps saying that. See, oblivious, or they won't even know. They can live their lives, meaning we are going to monitor you.
Not only this, now we can actually understand people's actions and activities just using radio signals.
We can understand people's actions and activities. That's called surveillance, lady. It is called surveillance, and she keeps selling it as this medical garbage. Do not buy this. The technology itself does exist, but the rest of it is lies. Trying to get you to believe it's on the horizon, it's coming, it is in use.
We have a form of X-ray vision that allows us to know what people are doing from behind the wall. But
We have a form of X-ray vision. A form of X-ray. You have radar. It is called radar. Wi-Fi is radar. It's all radar.
what I want to emphasize is really about the convergence of two things, radio signals and machine learning.
And we've proven that with the SWAT rat, that it is radio signals and machine learning because it is AI. See, they swap those. They don't want to say AI with that. So they say machine learning.
Radio signals are the ears of the device. So that wireless signal that bounce off our bodies and spread in the environment and goes through walls is very minute, actually.
So that's exactly what I've been saying. These radio signals are the ear of God weapon. They don't need an eye. It's just like an airplane. When you watch a movie, you can watch it. You pay for the sound. The sound is more important. Sound has more detail. So the ear of God weapon is more important than an eye of God weapon. Hearing what's going on is more important than seeing. And if you have a visual to go with that, with the radar, even better. So everything that they're talking about in this video is basically the Lookout for Charlie channel in a suit. It is somebody in a suit telling you the exact same things that I am telling you, except they are lying over the top, trying to tell you that it's for medical purposes when it is already implemented and they are using it on people.
So when you go to sleep, your brain waves change and enter different stages: awake, light sleep, deep sleep, REM, which we know like 1 in every 3 Americans have problems sleeping.
1 in every 3 Americans have problems sleeping because we are bombarded with radio waves, which she already said that earlier in the video, and that is what's causing sleep disturbances in the first place. Plus, we are being monitored and manipulated while we sleep.
So if we can understand these sleep stages, not only we understand sleep, we can actually understand a lot about mood disorders and neurological diseases.
We can understand it because they're causing it. Problem, reaction, solution. Let's go back to what I referred to earlier, Project MK Sleep. Now, I have documented this stuff everywhere. Here is one of the experiments that I did while people were sleeping in the house. And you are going to hear the system, and you're going to hear the system feedback. This is an older video. I'm going to play you parts of it.
Problem is, they're not. They're pulsed communications, and you can actually hear the system feeding back. And I'm going to play you a clip where I compiled a few of these feedback points so you can understand this. Let's check it out. This is the system feeding back in my room. And like I said, I am not special. This is happening everywhere. Listen to that. Now listen to this. It's just like a microphone in a PA system. It sounds just like it. It is literally starting to feed back, to hit the point where it is feeding back. Do you hear that? That is not a ghost. It's not a goblin. These are pulse communications, and they are creating feedback.
What this ultimately allows them to do is monitor what stage of sleep people are in, disrupt their sleep, influence their sleep with sound. They are asking you questions. It's almost like interrogation. In this clip, a voice comes in while people are sleeping, and it says, "Who the fuck is somebody?" I explain it in the video. Let's check it out.
Now here, a female asks, "Who the fuck is," and a name. Who the fuck is somebody somebody? Check it out.
Now here is an example of the sine wave that is following brainwave patterns and or breathing patterns. Let's check it out.
And what you're going to hear is something that sounds like Pole Position, the old video game. Check it out.
If you haven't seen it, watch the Project MK Sleep videos. It goes into way more detail, but this is already at work. Here they talk once again about monitoring breathing.
So even the pulsing of our blood changes the electromagnetic waves around us. And those wireless signals are very sensitive, but most importantly, the algorithms and the model can extract that information from the signal. We mount the device in the home.
Now here's where it gets really tricky and very deceitful. See, they always show these little devices, like they have to use this device to monitor people in the room when it's just putting out wireless signals. This is exactly what cell signals do. This is exactly what Wi-Fi does, Bluetooth, any frequency. You can transfer data and information on any frequency. So, this is very, very deceptive when they always show that they need some type of device to do this when they do not. It is already in use.
As the user, and we are just using the wireless signal in the environment. The person just lives their lives. They don't have to do anything. We not only use our wireless signal, we also went ahead and...
and they're showing it picking up Parkinson's. Right, it's going to help everybody. This is for monitoring pre-crime policing and surveillance of everybody, and it is already in use. And somebody said recently, I can't believe that this hasn't been used to convict people of crimes that they were doing in their home without anybody knowing. Well, we don't know that it hasn't, and there's a reason why. It is called parallel construction, and this came after the Patriot Act, and it is the use of information and surveillance that no one has to know where it came from. It was just given to law enforcement. So it could be given from a fusion center to a police force, state police, FBI, to build a case on somebody, and they don't ever have to tell you where it came from. For those who are unaware of it, it is out there. You can research it. Parallel construction is a law enforcement process of building a parallel or separate evidentiary basis for a criminal investigation in order to conceal how an investigation actually began. So there you go. I'm sure that it has already been used multiple times, and it's being used now because they are using all of this. Now, we're coming towards the end here, but let's get into them talking about monitoring diseases through nocturnal breathing.
Sleeping every night, we can ask this question every night using the radio signal without even asking the person to do any medical test.
Now, what they don't go into is how dangerous and how detrimental radio frequency can be to somebody. So you create a disease, then say, you have the breathing pattern of someone that has this disease, now we can come pick you up. Do you see how they're going to get people out of their homes? Let's go into drugs because they can tell when you're on drugs.
Now, this is something called a box plot, but I want you just to move to look at the red line, which is the median speed for this patient as a function of the hour in the day. And you can see that this person, okay, I mean, we all are slow during the night, but you can see during the daytime, he just has these like peaks and valley, and like his gait gets faster and then there he goes slower and then faster and slower. Can you guys guess why? It's the impact of medication. You see it? Hear it?
So they're telling you that they can tell when you're taking drugs. And people wonder why things happen strange to people who use drugs.
His first dose of medication, and you see the gait goes up because the drug controls the symptoms. So now he can move much faster. Then, at some point, the effect of medication starts wearing off. So you see the gait going down, you see the valley.
This is exactly what I was talking about, the abnormal breathing of a COVID patient. So imagine they come out with COVID-26B. No one knows where it came from because it's being created with RF. And then they realize that you have the abnormal breathing of someone who has been inflicted with this disease that they are creating, and they can come pick you up. This is all something to really think about because this is in use. And I've proven it on this channel over and over and over. So MIT is now in a suit putting out Lookoutfa Charlie videos. Flat out. Telling you that this is in use. They can do it. Suddenly a reality shift. They know it sounds like science fiction, but it's real. It's been real. So think about all this and couple all of this with parallel construction, and that is it for now. Look out for Charlie.